What's that sound? Hello, animals. It's good for my palms to see you. Hut, 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 hut. Welcome back to Story Shamans. Are you guys ready? This week, we're talking all about plot. It's a beast, no doubt. So we'll be breaking it up over 5 videos. 5. We're gonna do 5. Wait. You already said that. The plot of your story can be broken up into 4 large chunks. Let's call them acts. Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, and Act 4. Now, a lot of people talk about their stories in terms of a 3-act structure. But here, we're breaking it up into 4. Why? Because it makes more sense this way. Each of these 4 acts have essential components. Things that need to happen within the act. Act 1's got 5 steps. Act 2... 5 steps, Act 3. 5 steps, Act 4. 10 steps. This week we'll be dealing with Act 1. Act 1! It's got 5 steps. You've got the setup, the inciting incident, raise the dramatic question, debate and decision, and turning point 1. Setup is when you simply spend the beginning of your story establishing all of the basics of what your audience needs to know. You're setting up the normal world, the everyday existence of your characters, and this place. You're layering in all the pieces from your various cubbies. You're establishing your story's seed. You're establishing your characters, your world, the beginnings of your characters' desire lines and conflicts, etc., etc. From there, we move on to the inciting incident. This is when something happens. This something starts your story, an event that kicks everything initially into motion. Say you've set up a story in which your main character needs money for an operation. He has a unique condition, and an expensive experimental surgery is his only option. Establishing this information is all part of the setup. Your inciting incident would be, say, when an old friend arrives and recruits him to rob a bank with him. From there, we move on to the next step. Raise the dramatic question. This typically occurs right after the inciting incident. In fact, they go together so well, this step might seem obvious, but it's important to remember. When you raise the dramatic question, you're specifically giving the audience a particular question they will hold in their mind for the rest of the story. You don't need to outright say the dramatic question. It should be obvious from the events of your story. When they know our main character needs the money for his surgery, the dramatic question they're thinking is, will he get the money for his operation? If your story doesn't raise a specific dramatic question, then your audience will be unsure of what the driving force of your story is. And they'll be less interested in where it's going, because they don't know what story they're watching yet. Next up is the debate and decision. This is where your main character debates with himself or others about what he should do. The inciting incident has sparked off a chain of events that the main character has to deal with. What will he do? Most characters have a bit of difficulty making this decision, as it typically requires a bold change in action of some kind, turning their lives upside down. Is our main character gonna rob that bank? He's never done anything like this before. He might go to jail. He might hurt people. This is all new territory. But if he doesn't, he might die. Should he do it? He weighs the pros and cons, and then he makes a decision. For the sake of the story, he's gonna decide to do it. Of course he is. If he were to decide not to, well, that's an entirely different story we're telling. Your main character thinks about it, and then makes his decision. That leaves 1 step left. Turning point 1. This is where your story changes. Your main character has made their decision, and now they act on it. They take a leap forward that changes the landscape of the story. The safe world of home is gone. The journey begins. In our example story, our main character makes his decision and says yes to robbing the bank. He then packs a bag and leaves town with his buddy, off to join the bank robbing team. He's in. No turning back. He's reached turning point 1. That's it for Act 1. Let's review. We establish our main character and his health problem. He's got no money for his life-saving surgery. That's setup. His friend offers him a position in a bank robbery. That's the inciting incident. Our character weighs the pros and cons, and then decides to join the team. Debate and decision. He packs a bag and leaves town with his buddy, ready to rock and roll. That's turning point 1. Next week, we're smashing on into Act 2.